Hi, everyone.
Hi.
We're delighted to see you all today and to have you here joining us.
Yeah.
What I think Liz will do is, Liz, if you can make sure everyone is muted.
Yep.
We are so glad that you have chosen Grand Valley and that you have signed up for one of our advising and registration dates. And we're delighted to have you here today to talk more about what you can expect with that. My name is Matt Bolkins, and I am a professor of mathematics and the director of new student advising and registration. I've been a professor at Grand Valley for 22 years, and I've been the director of advising and registration for the last 7. Grand Valley has been a fantastic professional home for me, and it has an especially special place in my heart because I'm not just a professor and employee, but I'm also a parent. My 2 sons are both now alumni of Grand Valley. Ethan, as of just this past Saturday, Adam graduated 2 years ago, and my daughter Jenna is one of the incoming first-year students herself. Like many of you students here, and with you parents that are on this call, we're in a very similar place in life. So I'm excited that you all are joining us. I want you to know from me personally that Grand Valley is a really fantastic place, and that despite the circumstances that we find ourselves in this year that are much different, there's so much that we have to offer. So I'm going to let you all first meet my 4 colleagues who are with me here today and have them each introduce themselves. And after the first 3 go, Liz Chase will, and after Liz introduces herself, she'll tell you a little bit more about her, how our meeting will run today. So I'm going to pass you off right now to my friend and colleague, Brian Hatzel, who coordinated outfits with me today. Brian?
Thanks for that, Matt. I appreciate that. As Matt said, I'm Brian Hatzel. I'm a faculty member in the Movement Science Department and have been here at Grand Valley. This is now concluding my 19th year. I serve as assistant director, working with Matt and others to provide a great program for all of your future students. I also serve as the faculty or director of faculty initiatives for student success. So welcome, thanks for joining us tonight, and we look forward to meeting you all here tonight and into the fall.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Jody Hachinsky, Associate Vice President and Director of Admissions. I appreciate you all taking the time to join us this evening. Hopefully after today, if you have additional questions, you'll reach out to us in the admissions office so that we can make sure that we address any of your needs. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bonnie Ulmer-DeGraves. I'm one of the Associate Directors in the admissions office that works primarily with freshman orientation. So hopefully we'll be able to answer lots of your questions tonight.
Hi, everybody. My name is Liz Chase. I coordinate parent and supporter orientation. I'm sorry if I look a little distracted. I'm just trying to let more people into this session, but I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you this evening, excited to answer your questions and provide further information about your students' advising and registration process. So I will be going through just a couple of logistical things before we begin. I do want to make note that I am recording this session, and links to this recording will be emailed out not only to you, but to those who couldn't attend this session this evening. Also, I'm sure that you noted that your audio and your video were muted upon entering this Zoom session. We do ask that you keep your audio muted when you're not speaking, just to limit any background noise. Of course, you're more than welcome to unmute your video, which we see many of you have. It's so nice to see all of your faces, so thank you for that. Next, I would like to draw your attention to the bottom of your screen. If you hover your mouse, a toolbar should be down there. You should see a chat button, a participants button, as well as closed captioning. Closed captioning is available to everyone this evening, so if you'd like to take advantage of that service, just click on that closed captioning button and that should appear for you. Lastly, we just ask that you hold all of your questions until we get to that Q&A portion of this session. So how today's going to run, I think Matt sort of touched on it, is Matt's going to go through a quick presentation on your students' advising and registration process. Then we're going to get to some of the submitted questions from you folks, and then we're going to open that up to the group for any questions, additional questions that might be on your mind. So with all that being said, I'm going to hand it back over to Matt for his presentation.
Thanks, Liz. Before I start with my formal presentation, I do just want to acknowledge some questions that everybody has, ourselves included, and say that a very popular question that folks have is, what's fall semester going to look like? And I want to say that's a question that all of us, not just on this call, have, but those of us that work at the university have. And we're waiting on news from our president and her senior leadership team that is forthcoming in the near future. So while I want to acknowledge that these questions are all natural and they're all things that are concerns for us about the nature of what fall will look like, I want to say that tonight the focus of our discussion is going to be on what advising and registration looks like in the days ahead for us. I know that by mid to late June, President Mantella and her team plan to make a public announcement about what people can expect for fall. And I know that the absolute hope is that we can be face-to-face and back to something relatively close to our normal operations at that time. So with that said, I also want to just say that we recognize that these circumstances are difficult. Students, we hurt for you and the things that you've lost at the end of your high school experience, and for the fact that this has led to changes for you. But at the same time, I want to say that there's a great team of folks here at Grand Valley who are waiting to serve you. And we've built a new summer program in relatively short order that we think is gonna do a lot of good things for you. And so I'm excited to tell you about that right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen and do a short PowerPoint presentation. And then once I'm done with that, we'll turn to some questions. So give me just a moment to make that happen here. Okay, so thinking ahead to our first year advising and registration program and what each student can expect. For at least May and June, and it's now looking like likely July as well, we're going to be working in a remote environment to maximize the safety of students and honor the governor's and more agencies' requests of us. But we have set things up so that each student will have a one-on-one video conference appointment, and they'll have that with an advisor for 60 to 90 minutes, and that will happen on their scheduled registration day. In fact, if you have a date early in May, you've already gotten communication from us about this, and I'll say more about that in just a moment. One of my roles is working each day to think about our staffing plan and who the advisors will be that are working with students. And as much as possible, students will be assigned to an advisor who has experience or expertise in programs similar to what your stated interests are, the interests you sent to us when you signed up for an advising and registration date. And the big goal of these appointments that you'll have with advisors is to get you registered for classes in both the fall and winter semesters of the coming academic year. So here's what you can expect before the appointment. And if you have an appointment within the first week, so starting May 6th up until May 13th, you've already gotten this 2 weeks prior email, and I'll show you an example of that shortly. So each student receives an email from admissions. It has a bunch of information in it, including a reminder of your network login credentials, as well as a crucial list of things that we need you to do before your appointment. And completing this list is very important, both to helping yourself and to helping us. 3 to 4 business days prior to your appointment, each student will receive an email from their advisor that has the day and time of the appointment, plus a request for some personal information from you through a fillable PDF. So if you are a student who has a May 6th registration date, our first one next week, Wednesday, you can expect to receive this email probably sometime tomorrow from your advisor, but no later than Friday. We'll then ask for you to return that PDF to us as soon as you're able to, but for sure at least 24 hours prior to your appointment. And then the advisor will confirm with you by sending you a video conference URL similar to the one that you got for this meeting so that you can connect with them. They'll also share with you some more information, including a draft of some suggested classes for you to consider. When you meet with your advisor on your registration day in the scheduled video conference appointment, there will be some time for you to ask some questions about placement issues and courses that have been suggested in advance. But the main thing that you're going to do is you're going to log into our banner system. You're going to share your screen with your advisor, and your advisor will talk you through that, just like I'm sharing mine with you now. And the advisor will help you select your classes, again, working from a draft of courses that the advisor works to prepare in advance. And so one of our goals always when we work with students is to have advisors help students understand why which courses are being taken, which ones are for general education, which ones are for your major or minor, and which ones are for exploration. And then after the appointment, one of the great things that you gain in this process is you gain a connection to a Grand Valley faculty or professional advisor. And so you'll have already traded email with them. So if you have additional questions that you want to ask, you can follow up at a later time. Scheduling for both fall and winter semester is not something that's fixed in stone. You will not only learn how to do this with the support of your advisor, but how to change things on your own. We totally recognize that you may want to change things after the appointment. We just ask that if you want to make substantial ones, that you consult with an advisor just to make sure that things are still looking as best they can for you. And then as we near the fall semester, you can expect more communication from the university about transitions, which is our program through which we welcome students to campus in the fall semester and where we help students get more ready to be successful in the fall. You'll get some more information about your major program of study if you select one, and additional things from us. I want to just point out a handful of resources that are available to you as students here. And so I'm going to share just a couple of different aspects of my screen right here so that you can see two of them. So one of these is the Preparing for Advising and Registration website. And this website is on admissions' homepage from the admitted students page. You can link right to it, and we'll talk about some of the different details that are here as questions arise, but you can see lots of information. I know people have some questions tonight about how placement works. We'll come back to this page and talk about those things kind of one at a time in a moment, but this is a really useful resource for you in a centralized place that we're glad to have. And here is, this is a printout of a test email that some of you have already received. If it's 2 weeks or less prior to your registration appointment, that this email right here lists the things that we need you to do, right? So to make sure that you know your banner password and your network password and your network ID so that you can log in and make sure you can log into Banner. There's some information about what you can expect from your advisor. There's some more information here about placement, and we'll again talk about that. And I recognize that people who are on this call are at different stages of this. So some people have gotten this communication, some people haven't. We're happy to discuss those further. And then there's some additional things that you can do to get ready for your advisor with thinking about appointments. So with that, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and say that we're now at a place where we can turn to some of the questions that you all have. And so Liz, would you like me to go ahead and just turn to the questions that we discussed in advance? Actually, why don't you go ahead and ask the questions, and then I'll go ahead and respond to them. Let's go that way.
That sounds great. Thanks, Matt. Okay, so as Matt said, I kind of went through some of those submitted questions and pulled, I would say, a top 3 or 4 that I felt like really encapsulated a majority of the questions that you submitted. So the first one's going to be about AP credits, advanced placement credits. So lots of questions about what the maximum of AP credits that we accept at Grand Valley is. And then many students have not received back their score from their AP exams. So just wondering how that impacts registration and registering, registering for classes.
Absolutely, thanks, Liz. So first off, to all you students who've taken AP classes in high school, congratulations on doing that. Those are hard and demanding courses that are great college prep. If you've had IB experience or you've done some work with CLEP exams, that too is great preparation. Grand Valley's policy is that 32 credits is the maximum number of AP, IB, or CLEP credits that a student can bring in towards a Grand Valley degree. In the rare circumstances where a student has more than 32 AP credits, we work with the student to have them choose which 32 they want to count. Regarding the tests themselves, every year we find ourselves in the place where about this time of year students are taking AP exams, and we don't yet know the results of those. And so what our operating assumption is each year is that students who take AP exams, by and large, pass those exams with the scores that they need. So our experience is that 80% or more of students earn the score that they need for credit at Grand Valley. So as you're working with your advisor, one of the things you'll communicate to them is what AP classes you've taken, and particularly what exams you've taken. And for ones you don't have scores, we'll operate under the assumption that you'll gain credit for that class. And then we have systems in place where after we get AP scores, we check those and we will circle back to you if you didn't get credit. You can always reach out to us and we can adjust your schedule if needed. You certainly have the option to just tell us up front, like if the exam didn't go well or you have some different preferences for what you would like for the class, you should absolutely speak up and tell your advisor that. And we will work with you to do what we, to do what's best for you. I'll add one other thing. We recognize that AP exams this year are being administered in a different way, but that hasn't changed anything about Grand Valley's plans for how we will accept and award credit for those. So all of the AP exams will count for Grand Valley credit in the usual way, provided you earn the scores that are required according to the ones listed on our credit by exam site.
Great. Okay, so next topic is going to be around placement testing. So lots of questions about what kind of placement tests students need to complete prior to their advising and registration process, and sort of what does that entail? What does that process look like?
Thanks, Liz. I think to talk about placement, it'll be helpful for me to share my screen again. So I'm going to show just a couple of different things here. So in the email that you received from us 2 weeks prior to your registration date, there's this section titled Your Prior Course Experience in GVSU Placement. So one key part of that is if you have taken college credits already at another institution, it's really important that you send us your transcripts. And so there's an email there where you can submit those to our records office. The thing that you help us with so much is when you send that to us, we can then evaluate those credits and we can include them in your records so that when your advisor works with you and looks at your records in our banner system, they'll already see what classes you have credit for. So that's, again, a huge help to us. There are 3 other things that incoming students need to think about in terms of their placement before their appointment. So one is your math placement. And so you will have a message like this in the email that you receive. It'll say your math placement is, and there are one of several possible options there. The highest one of those is Math 122 and 123 fulfilled. So if you have Math 122 and Math 123 fulfilled, there's nothing that you need to do for math placement. If you don't have that math placement, then what you should do is you should follow this link in your email, and I'll also show you where you can access that from the website in just a moment, and you can get more information about math placement and online placement testing there. So I would say as a general rule of thumb, every student who doesn't have the highest math placement already should take proficiency tests, but it's especially important for students who plan to study programs in the sciences and mathematics and more technical fields and more. So just to show you what you'll see if you actually follow through to that. So if you went from the website here, the Preparing for Your Advising and Registration site, and this is the same link that's in the email that we sent you. If you follow this link, it will take you to the Department of Mathematics' website where it explains the 4 different possible placements that you can have. There's even a grid that you can follow to see how your initial placement was determined, which is determined based on your scores on standardized tests like the ACT or SAT. And then there's directions here for how you can go ahead and take a different proficiency test. And so these are online tests that are timed. You have the option to see a practice exam in advance, and you can take each test twice to work to improve your placement. And so I would say the most important thing for you to do if you're going to take math placement is do it sooner rather than later, and to make sure you investigate this site and ask questions if you need support. So that's a bit about math placement. A second thing to think about is language placement. So if you have studied a foreign language in high school, one of the things we would strongly encourage you to do is to consider continuing to study that at Grand Valley, and thus to take our language placement evaluation. And so here too in the email, there's a link for you, or if you're going from this website, there's information here on language placement. And if you follow the link for language placement, it'll take you to a website from the Modern Languages Department that also has been developed collaboratively with our classical languages folks who teach Greek and Latin. And you can learn all kinds of information here about for which degrees is a foreign language required, or what languages do we teach. What is the language placement evaluation? And that works in a couple different ways, and then you can request one. For several of our languages, including Spanish, French, German, Italian, and I think Russian, there's an online placement exam that you can take that if you request this language evaluation and you follow through with a survey, you'll get an email sent to you to the email address you provide with a link to do an online language assessment from your home. If you are in some of our other languages that we offer, such as Latin or Chinese or Japanese and a handful of other ones, those are ones that you requesting this evaluation will actually start a process that leads to a professor reaching out to you to give you a phone call and do an assessment of your language proficiency. And all of this will lead to us having placement information about you that your advisor will have access to before your appointment, so we make sure you get in the right courses. Excuse me. And that leads us to one more item about placement and things for you to think about, and that's tied to your first year writing course selection. And so that's this item and this bullet in the email that you receive. And if we go back to the website here that also houses all of these things, if you go to your writing course selection, there's a link to information about first year writing at Grand Valley. And I'll say there's a lot of information here, but essentially what every student needs to do before their first year at Grand Valley ends is they need to complete our first year writing requirement, which for most students is fulfilled by taking Writing 150. You can also fulfill it through AP or dual enrollment. So if you have credit for Writing 150 through one of those options, you won't need to take Writing 150. But there's also an opportunity for you to take Writing 150 in a different format that's called the stretch format. And so essentially the idea of that course is that for students who are less confident about their ability as writers and would like more support in their work and are maybe less experienced, there's an option to take 2 3-credit courses over 2 semesters instead of 1 4-credit course in 1 semester to fulfill that. And so there's videos on this page, there's a survey that you can take, and lots of good things for you to think about in advance. And then when you meet with your advisor, you can share your choice with them. And if you're still not sure, your advisor that you work with can help connect you to a writing placement consultant later on your registration day. And that writing placement consultant can confer with you and help make sure that you get in the right place. So that's a fairly long-winded discussion of various issues related to placement. And so I appreciate people raising those and giving us a chance to talk through them here. And I think, Liz, I think we're ready for our next question.
Yes. So the next question is around first year connected courses. So lots of questions about what credits these count towards. Are they gen eds? And do students need to choose their connected courses if they decide to go this route prior to their advising and registration appointment?
Great, thanks for that, Liz. Yes, so the first year learning community is an effort to combine 2 content areas or 2 unique courses together under a unified theme, where we have 2 faculty members that are working together to deliver that content and to plan assignments and to otherwise teach the course. They are just the same as any other course. So for instance, Writing 150 course that's part of the first year learning community, it gives the same credit that a student taking a standalone Writing 150 course would get. All of the selections, there's 6 selections to be able to make in our paired courses. Each of those count for at least 2 areas within the general education requirements. So by making those choices, you do make progress on the general education curriculum. Some of the benefits of taking those courses are that the same students are in both of the courses. So there's a unified cohort of courses and the students enjoy a smaller environment, one where they get to know each other a bit faster. And it allows the faculty to get to know the students a little bit more intimately or more individually as they assist the students in the teaching and the learning of that criteria. Liz, did I hit all aspects there of that question?
Hey, Brian, could I ask a follow-up? What's the benefit as far as pre-scheduling goes if a student chooses that option?
Right, thanks for that, Matt, I appreciate that. So there's been a message already sent out to all admitted students and you all as parents or supporters, giving you a bit of background information. What we do is we've asked for you to make a choice, a first choice and a second choice. And the benefit that allows for you is it gives us a chance to pre-register you into those courses. So you have a guaranteed seat in those courses. And what it allows you to do is to build the rest of your schedule for both the fall and the winter around those courses already. So you come in already to your advising session with these seats reserved for you. And then it allows the advisor to be able to work with you to build the rest of your schedule.
Great, thank you so much. Our last question is going to be, can parents and supporters attend their students' advising and registration appointment?
Thanks, Liz. So in normal circumstances, we're on campus and we run two parallel programs. Parents and supporters who attend have a collection of events scheduled for them through the day, and early in the day, students go off and work with their advisor in an independent setting. So we recognize the unusual times that we find ourselves in here, and we understand the desires of parents and other family members to be present. I think what I would ask is that as much as possible, we have this be something that the responsibility is given to the student. If one parent or family member would like to be a listening partner in that, that's something that we would be, completely comfortable with having along. But it's very important in these conversations that the student be the person who is making choices and communicating their preferences, and again, driving the conversation there. So that's our request from folks. And again, we understand the kind of unusual circumstances that we find ourselves in.
Okay, those were all of our submitted questions, or at least the top 3 or 4 that I found. So I think now we are ready to open it up to the group to see if you have any additional questions. You do have a couple of ways that you can ask questions. You can either go into that chat box, which I see some of you have already started asking some questions. So you can ask it that way just by typing your question in there. Or you do have the ability to raise your hand, and I can go through there and call on you, and then you could unmute yourself and ask a question that way. So I'm probably going to alternate back and forth and make sure that I can get to everybody. I know that I had a question earlier that I'd like to throw out there, which I thought was a good question, which was, if a student wants to take a course at a community college this summer, how can they determine if it will transfer?
Sure, that's a good question. So Grand Valley has a transfer equivalency website where one of the things that you can do is you can go and search on that site and see what courses count for. So I think I'm just gonna beg people's moment here, and I'll just do a quick search and show you what this looks like. So if you just went to Google and you just did GVSU transfer equivalency, the very first hit that you'll come to is our transfer equivalency site. And every school that we've ever accepted credit from shows up here. And so, for instance, if you wanted to look at, say, Grand Rapids Community College as an option for taking a course this summer, if you didn't put any course in here at all and submitted it, what will come up is every single course from GRCC that we accept. And if you search something like the word math, you can see all the different courses that have math in them. And if you went to the place you were looking for, like maybe you were going to take a class like Math 107, you could see that Math 107 at GRCC counts for Math 110 at Grand Valley. And so I think that's probably your best way, that if you, again, just remember to Google GVSU transfer equivalencies, you can look up that information and then you can know in advance. If you have any questions or concerns about that and you've heard from an advisor already, you're welcome to email that person to ask. And I know that our admissions office, if you have questions that you haven't been able to get an answer to, if you contact them, they'll forward those to the appropriate person and we'll work to help you out with that.
Okay, we've got lots of questions coming in. Let's see here. I'm gonna, for the sake of the group, try to grab some general ones. I will keep track of ones that I don't get to, and I will reach out to you individually. if I think that's a necessary conversation. This is a great question. What type of laptop is recommended?
The university doesn't make a formal recommendation on that. So one of the things that I do see is I see the vast majority of my students in class using laptops, but it's a mix of both PCs and Chromebooks and Macs. And I think whatever your preference is for what you like is something that would serve you just fine.
Okay, great. If my student received early access to Seedman, will they be given an advisor from there on their online registration?
I missed just the start of that because I was coughing. Could you say it one more time?
Oh, sure, yeah. If my student received early access to Seedman, will they be given an advisor from there for their online registration?
Yes. So I think that when you say early access, I think what is meant by that question is a direct admit to Seedman. So Seedman is a secondary admit program that some first-year students get admitted to right away. And as long as the student has put in an interest from the Seedman College of Business as their first interest when they signed up for registration, we will absolutely be connecting them with an advisor or a faculty member with expertise from Seedman. So that's the work there. We have lots of students who do come in Seedman. Sometimes it's a professor from another area, but it's somebody who's worked with the College of Business there. And so it's also the case if you have direct admit to Seedman and you want to reach out to their advising center just to ask them, that's something that they could connect with me about and we could work to make happen for sure.
I have some questions about Honors College. Maybe just touching quickly, will students be meeting with an honors advisor and how will that work?
Yes, and that's a fantastic question. For the people who've asked it, thank you so much. That was actually an oversight in my presentation that I now realize among the many things we're working to keep straight. So the process that I outlined for all of you is similar for honors students, but there's one part of the honors students that's a little bit different. So 5 of our colleagues who work in the Honors College have taken full responsibility for advising and registering all of the incoming Honors College students. So if you're a student in the Honors College and you signed up, say, for an honors registration day like May 8, it's likely the case that your date has changed and that you know that from correspondence with the Honors College directly. They've reached out to all honors students, and so there's some flexibility there in terms of the dates and scheduling. So whereas all non-honors students will have their advising and registration date on the date that they signed up for with admissions, honors students have a slightly different process, and that's so that our smaller staff of honors faculty and advisors can work with you all in that process. But otherwise, you'll see that the templates for communication are very similar for information that comes your way. It'll just be that more of that will come directly from the Honors College rather than from admissions initially.
Okay, I've got another question about math placement. So if a student takes the math proficiency test and gets math 110 fulfilled, do they have to take the 122 proficiency test?
That's a great question. They don't. We would recommend that they do, but it does partly depend on what the student's aspirations are. So if the student is studying, say, a field that would require calculus, it would be really wise to go on and take both the Math 122 and Math 123 proficiency tests, since those are prerequisites for calculus. If the student is interested in a less technical area of study and is not planning to take additional mathematics courses, it can be fine to stop after having the Math 110 fulfilled, as that meets most general education and non-science course requirements.
Okay, I have a question about student athletes. How does that scheduling work? Working around their practice schedule, things like that.
For our varsity student athletes, we're working as much as possible to connect those students to advisors in the Laker Academic Success Center, which is Damon Arnold and Maisha Golden and Michaela Meyer, who work with all of our varsity athletes. And so if you are one of those and we're aware of your status in advance, we're going to connect you with one of those people to be your advisor for that day. And they're certainly aware of practice schedules and more. If it happens to be the case that you are an incoming varsity athlete and you didn't get connected to one of those folks, you can just tell your advisor that you're a varsity athlete. They have access to all of the scheduling constraints, And not only will they help you, but after the appointment, they'll make sure to connect you to one of Damon, Aisha, or Michaela, and then they will follow up with you accordingly.
Okay, I have a question about dual enrollment classes taken during high school, and sort of what that looks like in regards to the registration process.
Mm-hmm. Right. So if you have taken dual enrollment classes already, awesome, good job, right? Way to get a jump on things. And if you have sent your transcripts to us through the fall semester, even better. If you have done that, then those courses are in our banner system. And in the work that I do behind the scenes, where I take all the information that we have about you students and share it with advisors, the advisor that you are assigned to will have access to all of the courses that you've already sent to us. So that even includes like AP exams that you took in your junior year. So again, the sooner that you can get this information to us, the better. But there will also be an opportunity for you in the email your advisor sends you 3 to 4 business days before your appointment. You'll be asked to complete a fillable PDF to save it and send it back to your advisor. And in that, you can add any courses that you haven't yet sent to us so that your advisor is aware of those. And then in all of the ways that we navigate that, what we work to do is to make sure that you're not taking any classes that you already have credit for, and that you're placed into classes that you're prepared and qualified for. So if you have dual enrollment credits, we'll absolutely take all of that into account as part of your registration process.
Okay, I have a question about the connected courses. What is the difference between a connected gen ed versus a regular gen ed? And do you earn more credits for one or the other?
Great, thanks for that. The Gen Ed courses and those that are Gen Ed courses part of the Connected program, there is no difference as far as what categories or what requirements they meet. So it's the same number of credits that you would get if you took a standalone general education course, or Writing 150 or Lib 100. These are all courses that are part of the program. The only thing that is different at all is that one class is connected to the other, but you still receive individual credit for each of those courses, and the same accounting for general education.
One of the reasons that Brian and others work to develop this program is that one of the places that you really build community as a student is with your fellow students in class. So it happens to be the case that for our incoming honors students, they take what are called a foundation sequence, and they take 2 courses that are team taught, kind of like the connected courses are, and those courses are connected together for the times they meet, and they meet with the same group of students in these 2 classes. And so one of the things that our colleagues in honors found was that this did a lot to build relationships and support among students, and we wanted to avail that to our non-honors students as well. So if you sign up for one of these pairs of courses, they work in all those same ways that if you'd signed up for those 2 courses individually and separately. But what you get as a bonus is you get 2 professors that are talking to each other, that are planning their courses together, and you get the exact same group of students in both classes. And so there's an opportunity for you to have even more community and support in that setting.
Okay, I have another question for a particular program of study. How is registration different for music students?
That's a great question too. If you are an incoming student who has already auditioned to apply to be in the music program as a music major, one of the things that the music department has done is it has sent you a letter that, if it hasn't sent it to you already, they will send you a letter that has a collection of courses for you to take. Those letters have all been sent to me and my staff, and they are stored in our central database where advisors access information. And when an advisor has a music student or similarly a dance student, they have access to that letter as well, and that will shape the advising conversation for work that we follow there. So for students in audition programs like music and dance, we have lots of information available in advance that helps us to make sure we get you in the right place.
Great. This question is about ACTs. So is GVSU going to extend the ACT score acceptance date because students were unable to take the test yet this spring?
Thank you. So for students that were admitted by December 31, they were allowed to send in updated academic credentials up until May 1, which is considered college decision day. When this pandemic came on our radar, we immediately extended our deadline to the end of August. We will not extend it any further than that. So it is an unfortunate situation. We do realize that many test dates were canceled, but we do need to award our merit scholarships prior to a student enrolling to the university. And so we will not extend it further than what we have already done so at this point.
Okay. Does registration happen on the orientation day?
For all non-honors students, yes. So, and the goal will be to register for both your fall and winter semester of classes. And again, what you'll get is you'll get communication directly from your advisor that says, this is the day that I'm expecting you and this is the time. Some additional correspondence will continue. And then when you come to that meeting, what we'll be working to do is that very early on, and it will be working to get you right into Banner and start registering for your courses.
Is there a primary location where folks can find a list of gen ed requirements?
Yes. Let me show you. So in the part of the email that you get that says getting ready for the appointment with your advisor, there's a short video for you to watch to learn first about how to use Banner. So that's kind of an aside there, that's some great prep that you can do to make sure that you understand a little bit about how to get into our Banner system. You can effectively log in and start to see how to register for classes, but your advisor will walk you through that. But below that, there's information about the general education program. And so there's a short general video that you can watch that's from some of our faculty and students about the benefits of the Grand Valley General Education Program. But the biggest thing that you can do is you can browse the General Education Quick Guide, which is a short overview there, and then a place that you can learn more overall is if you go to this website right here, and I'm gonna just quickly move over and paste that in here so that you can see what it looks like. I have found that when I use Google to search for the Grand Valley General Education Program, for reasons unclear to me, it leads me to like the 2017-2018 year. So I would caution you against just Googling GVSU Gen Ed, because this does change a little bit from year to year. And so if you instead follow that link that's in the email to you, or there's also a link on the preparing for your advising and registration date, that's the best way to go. But there's a quick guide here that gives you an overview in PDF of the various courses and kind of how that works. Basically, there are about 8 to 10 categories of courses where you have to take 1 or 2 courses per box. And sometimes you'll take classes in your major that count for general education courses. And if you do that, then it not only fulfills the major requirement, but also your general education need in that area. One of the things that you can also do, though, to learn more about is you can go and in our online format here, you can read the introduction to general education. You can read right here about the requirements. And then in the various foundations area, you can read explicitly about the courses that are there. So if anything that you can do in advance of your appointment to read about these things and learn more and think about what you're interested in, I think serves you really well. In Gen Ed, outside of courses required for your major that meet requirements, you have lots of choice. And so to think about those choices in advance is a great thing to do, and I know your advisor will encourage you to do so.
Okay. Can you take Writing 150 and Intro to Creative Writing at the same time?
That's a good question. I would have to look. So it would depend on whether Writing 150 is a co-requisite or a prerequisite to Intro to Creative Writing. My strong hunch is that Writing 150 is a prerequisite. And so what you would want to do is you'd want to take that in the fall semester and earn credit for it. And then you'd be able to register for the Intro to Creative Writing in the winter semester and get right onto that next.
I have another pretty specific question. When taking CLEP test for biology, does that take care of one lab requirement for sciences?
Regardless of how a student earns the credit, whether through AP, IB, CLEP, or dual enrollment, if you have credit for our Bio 120, And with AP, there are some subjects to the score here to make sure you're at a high enough level. Then that would fulfill your lab science for your time at Grand Valley. Yes. Basically, if you get credit for a course with us that falls within the general education program, that fulfills it, no matter how you've done that, whether that's taking the course with us, AP, IB, dual enrollment, or CLEP.
Okay, this is for those first year connected courses. Brian, how do folks or students let you know their interest? Someone saying that they didn't get information on expressing their students' interest in this program.
Great, yes. So I will, you can access the admitted student checklist in the admissions website. Otherwise, I'll also put in the chat box here the website directly to it. And you can, there's a choice there for you to go ahead and review more about the program and then also read about each of the themes that are available. And in there, there's also a selection link that you can choose. And we ask that you provide a top priority and a second priority. And that allows me to be able to work with enrollments and put you in one of your top choices.
If a student received a letter from their prospective major, does this mean they are already accepted into it?
Most majors you don't need to be accepted into. So there are some programs like majors in the College of Business, like the nursing program, and a handful of others that are secondary admit that there's an application process for. Some majors in the College of Engineering and Computing also fall into that. So if you received a letter, unless it says explicitly you've received direct admission into this particular major, it's much more likely that that's outreach that's being extended to you in light of their knowledge of your interest. But again, that would be a question to ask your advisor. For other majors, and indeed for all students starting out, even in programs that are secondary admit, you have the freedom to declare your major, and your advisor will work with every incoming student to do that as part of your registration appointment. And if you're not certain, what we do is we have students who aren't not yet ready to declare a major, declare themselves as what we call exploratory. So EXPL is the acronym for that. And so if you declare that, that's a totally fine thing that about 20 or 30% of our incoming students choose to do. So if you choose to do that, that's an entirely fine thing.
If a student initially stated an interest in business, but has since changed their mind to a different major, should they let someone know prior to their scheduled advising and registration appointment?
That's helpful. It's not 100% necessary, but if that would make you as an incoming student more comfortable, if you would, Bonnie, is the correct thing to send an email to admissions?
That, or they can even go back onto the orientation reservation system and pick a new major.
So the only side about picking it on the registration system is just if you have a really soon upcoming appointment, like if you're like May 6 or May 7, I would urge you to send that email to Bonnie so she can get it to me and we can see if a swap is needed or something like that. But doing it on the system or sending an email like that, we'll do our best to accommodate that as much as we can. So I do want to say again, while our aspiration is to have every student with an advisor who's in a field close to them, we can't meet that for everyone. It certainly happens for the vast majority of folks. And if the advisor is from a slightly different area, they'll certainly have the ability to make sure that you leave your appointment connected to someone who is really close to what you're doing.
Sorry, just looking through. Still some questions about ACT. Will GVSU extend ACT acceptance date due to many SAT test dates canceled? Jody, I know you spoke about this.
Yeah, as I shared, our date for accepting documents from students who were admitted by December 31 was May 1. When this all first started, we extended it to the end of August, anticipating that there would be test dates in late spring and summer. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that that is going to be the case, and it is truly unfortunate, but we will not extend the date beyond the end of August. We do have to have all of our merit scholarships awarded to students prior to the student enrolling at the university. I'll add, I see that there are a couple questions related to parking. You will find information about parking services if you go to www.gvsu.edu/parking. Some of you are asking if freshmen are able to have cars on campus, and the answer is yes. However, you will need to purchase a parking permit. So when you go to this parking website, you will see a link for a student permit, and students are able to begin purchasing parking permits by mid-July. So you'll want to go back to the site later this summer and you'll be able to purchase that permit if you'd like to bring a car to campus.
I do have a question here about who to send transcripts to for dual enrollment classes.
Yeah, I'll just real quick share my screen again to flash up a preview of that 10-day email. So if you've not received that yet, when you get your 10-day, your 2 weeks before your registration email, there's a link right in there that says add adm-transcripts@gvsu.edu. So that's a place too that if you search on the Grand Valley Records website and just simply ask, where do I send my transcripts to GVSU, you'll come right to this and be able to send it to us.
I'd like to add to that, if you don't mind, Dr. Bulkins, we do need official college transcripts in order to grant the credit. So if you haven't sent an official transcript, you need to do that. Most transcripts are able to be sent electronically. And so if you just go to that institution, the home institution where you completed that credit, and request that they send it to Grand Valley, we will receive that information. So you can continue to do that all along, and we'll evaluate that. If your meeting is next week and you can't get an official transcript to us, then it really is important that you provide an unofficial so that the advisor can direct you appropriately into the right courses, and then you can follow up with getting an official sent to us.
I had another question here, a follow-up question for student athletes. When they receive their advising email prior to their advising appointment, will it have the name of the advisor, and how will they know if the advisor is from athletic advising or what department they are from?
For every student, when you receive your email 3 to 4 business days before your registration appointment, it will come from the advisor that you're going to be working with. And that advisor in the email will announce who they are and what their title is. So no matter who you hear from, whether you're an athlete or otherwise, you should have a good sense of who that person is by name and title. And if it's not clear to you when you read the email, if you were a student in that circumstance, you could just write back and ask, right? Are you one of the advisors that works with student athletes? So one of the really good things about what's coming up for you all with this system, even though it's different than our in-person work, is that you get early contact with your advisor that you'll be able to have a little bit of back and forth with them before your appointment. And so I would urge you to view that as a good opportunity to ask 1 or 2 questions, and then to think about saving for yourselves the additional questions that you have for when you meet with the advisor.
I see that there are a lot of questions related to housing. And so typically housing sends roommate assignments to new students mid-June. Right now, the housing office is working with certainly the health department. We're following CDC guidelines and also guidelines offered through the state. And so at this time, we don't have any specific information as it relates to housing. We are planning to send assignments as we have done typically, but as you know, things are changing quite quickly. And so we are monitoring the situation. Housing is working very hard to keep up to date on recommendations. And as soon as that information is made available, you will be notified. If you're uncertain about housing, I would encourage you to still submit a housing application if you haven't done so. We've extended that deadline from May 1st to June 1st, hoping we'll have more information available to share with you specific to housing. So go ahead, get that submitted. If you choose not to live in on-campus housing and you cancel that application by June 1, that $150 deposit will be refunded to you.
I have another question about AP exams. If someone is taking an AP exam in May, so this one is May 18th, when do they need to submit the results in order for the credit to be recognized?
Just by the end of summer. So we put in permits that enable you to register for subsequent courses, and we keep a note of the things that you tell us, but it'll be important to send that before you start courses with us in the fall.
So I do have some questions about summer courses. If folks want to see what summer courses are available and when that list is posted.
Could I ask one of the other folks to just go ahead and put that in the chat window where you can find the Grand Valley summer schedule? So I know that that's posted in a prominent way on our website. Our spring session of courses is starting, I believe, this coming Monday, May 4th. And our summer section, so those are 6-week courses typically. And then our summer courses start around maybe June 22 or so for another 6-week session. So that second session of summer courses might be something that you find some appealing options in.
So I wanted to add, just in particular, there are quite a few questions about housing and financial aid. There will be opportunities for virtual Q&A sessions with the housing department, as well as a few other areas for parents and families. Of course, your student is welcome to attend as well. An email will be sent out soon, hopefully with information about that. So I am coordinating those virtual Q&As as well as a website for you folks, parents and supporters in particular, to gather more information about all of these things that you're asking about. So that is definitely in the works and coming your way.
I would also encourage all of you, I know you have some very unique and specific questions. The admissions staff is available. Our office hours right now are from 8 to 5, and we would be happy to set up an individual appointment with you. If you need an appointment after hours or on Saturday, we will be flexible and we will honor that as well. So just email us at admissions@gvsu.edu so we can talk through the very specific scenarios you're presenting that relate to you or your student. But please reach out. We're all working and we're here available to answer those questions. So please don't hesitate to contact us directly and we'll set up a time to meet with you.
Yeah, I would also like to put out there, you know, all of you should have the GVSU family at gvsu.edu. You can reach out to me. I'm the one that answers those emails. I'm happy to connect you with other resources if need be.
Liz, are we ready to wrap up? You want me to close things for us?
Yep, I think we should wrap up. I'm going to still be typing in this chat box. I'm probably going to be asking a few of you to just send me your email so I can follow up, just because your situations are pretty specific. So I will remain here in the chat box for a little bit, but yep, we are good to go.
So I'm going to say just a few words in closing, and then folks can head out to whatever their evening plans hold. So first off, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time to join us today. This has been great to have an opportunity to interact with you all and to learn more about your questions and what's important to you. Every single question that people have asked is important and natural, and I appreciate the opportunity for other folks to hear your thoughts and for us to share those with you in advance. Again, anything that you can do to be as well prepared as possible for your advising appointment will help us all out. And no matter the circumstances we find ourselves in, we here at Grand Valley will work really hard to make sure that your incoming experience is a good one. I'll say again, I've worked here at Grand Valley for a long time. It's an institution that I really love and feel grateful to work at. I've been honored to have my own kids go to school here, and I totally believe in what we do. So I'm really excited to welcome you as part of our incoming first-year class, even amidst these circumstances that are less than ideal for us all, but yet we're finding a way to function and learn and live in, and I'm optimistic for all that lies ahead for us. So thank you again for being here, and I wish you a good night, and students, I look forward to you meeting our advisors and proceeding from there. Thank you.